Welcome to CCBC TV's Arts Showcase, a series featuring performances from the campuses of the Community College of Baltimore County. I'm Monica Otal, Professor of Music and Concert Manager at CCBC. Today's Arts Showcase features Harmonic Introductions, a vocal ensemble dedicated to the unique art of overtone singing. Led by Robert Saffell and Julian-Israel Canizares, they provide a diverse soundscape of vocal expression. They perform and lead workshops throughout the Baltimore-Washington, D.C. region as well.
Good afternoon. We're Harmonic Introductions. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. So, as noted several times, we are Harmonic Introductions. We are an overtone singing ensemble dedicated to just exploring different possibilities with this art of overtone singing in the context of a group. And overtone singing is the act of producing two audible notes at once from one voice. And the way you do that is by singing harmonics. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. So, what you're hearing and what you're going to be, like, I guess, hopefully at least listening for, is, we're very used to hearing, like, classical singing, pop singing, all of these things. And this actually blends well with all of those if you do it right. But essentially, instead of this nice warm, full resonance, like a nice choral sound, like woo, you kind of close down the resonance a little bit, and you get something a little different. And yeah, so. As we proceed with the evening, or well, afternoon, yeah, you'll hear a lot of that, and that's a good thing. So I mentioned harmonics, and the harmonic series is a pretty nifty, physical, naturally occurring phenomenon in the world. Anytime a pitch is resounded by anything, whether it's a voice or a trumpet or a violin. We're going to keep it in the context of music for just keeping it short and to the point. But anytime you have that, a fundamental frequency, the note being sung, say, with the vocal folds, like, ah, you have all of these harmonics sounding as well above that. And those harmonics are basically whole number ratios of that frequency. So if this is like, for the purpose of mathematical simplicity, 100 hertz, then the first harmonic would be a doubling of that, 100, and then a third of that, so 150, so on and so forth. And it stacks and stacks and stacks. And every time you encounter a new prime number, you encounter a new overtone or like harmonic relationship. So that's a little bit about like the background behind that. Yeah. Next, we'll be doing a piece. All of the music you're hearing today is original music that composed by the group or developed, improvisations developed together as a group. And this next piece is by Thomas Ashcombe, the fellow sitting there. Hey, Tom. And yeah, we hope you enjoy. So, overtone singing, it hasn't been around that long in the context of history, at least the Western polyphonic overtone singing that we do as a group. It's relatively new on the scene if you think of like thousands of years and such. Details. Essentially the first recording of overtone singing was in 1920s by a cowboy named Arthur Miles, and I would assume that he this is just my thoughts on where he might have picked it up. Because he was a cowboy constantly traveling on the railroad and such, a lot of his songs are about it. I'm not just making that up. At least that's what he sings about. So, I get the feeling that he learned it from a lot of the immigrants that were working on the railroad, because they some of them brought over these like Mongolian and Tuvan traditions of throat singing, which we'll get into a little later, talking more about, that. But focusing back in on this, so that's the first known recording that occurred. Guy's named Arthur Miles, and essentially after that, it kind of didn't really pick up any speed until about the 60s, 1960s, which this fellow named Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. He's a pretty cool guy. I don't know if y'all have been studying him or whatnot, but you should. He was involved in a lot of the development of electronic music sounds and other things, and he did a lot of interesting collaborations and kind of fusing world elements together into his music, which at the time wasn't as much of a thing in the classical Western scene. And he wrote a piece for overtone singers called Stimmung, and it's for I think 5 or 6 voices, and it goes anywhere between 60 and 80 minutes long, depending upon I guess the mood they're in. There's a lot of aleatory. I don't know if aleatory is it comes from the Latin alea, which means chance or dice, where the music isn't all written out in front of you, and you're not just writing off, playing off of a prescription. So that was the first time that it was composed in a major kind of work. Then the next big thing that happened was, as far as this overtone singing stuff goes, is a fellow named David Hikes started an overtone choir in 1975. And he was certainly a big pioneer in this field, kind of laying forth different ideas and principles as what can be done. His group first recorded in '85 on cassette, if anybody remembers those. A piece. It's an album called "Hearing Solar Winds," and in that. He details 5 different levels of overtone singing, which we'll talk more about what those 5 levels are after the next piece. But essentially, so he was a thing. He did big things. He's great. He now composes for soundtracks and stuff. One of his pieces was in X-Men, I think, one of the movies. I don't know. Then after that, there's been a number of European overtone choirs. It's much more based in Europe right now than in the States. There's about 3 or 4 in the States, including us. And we are a community group, so if you like what you hear and you want to learn more, you can join us if you're free on Wednesdays in Rockville, Maryland. Hey. Yeah. There is Jim Cole and the Spectral Voices are based in Connecticut. Toby Twining, he composed a requiem for 10 voices that features all kinds of singing, including overtone singing and microtones. It's really wild. And he's out of York, Pennsylvania, and I think he operates in New York maybe. Then there's Stewart Hines, is a prolific composer of overtone music. He's based in Texas. and then the Seattle Harmonic Voices, which I don't know if they still exist or not, but they recorded an absolutely gorgeous album in an underground cistern. Yeah, the acoustics in there are like, whew. So they're on iTunes, you know. We'll be on iTunes soon, don't worry. We're not there yet. But yeah, so that's a little bit of the, like, kind of what's going on there. There's a group in Argentina. There's a choir called Spectrum in the Czech Republic. There is a number of German groups. There's a European overtone choir, which anyone's welcome to go to. It meets like once a year, and it's like a kind of a week-long, like, just here's how to overtone sing. Okay, now we put on a concert. And it's really incredible stuff. I'm hoping to go soon. Yeah. Well, there's a couple others, but that gets some of the point across. It's definitely like picking up speed, and in popular music, like a cappella music, Pentatonics, the former bass singer Avi, excellent overtone singer, they incorporated in their group using multiple voices, doing it in a couple ways that, like, you can really replicate the sound of synthesizers. Yeah, that's some of like what's going on with overtone singing, and how it came about and where it is now. So we hope you enjoy this next piece. This is a piece by one of our former members, a guy named Chris Appel, called Livestream, and it's inspired by a video game because he happens to be the treasurer for a video game orchestra, of all things. Washington Metro Gamer Symphony Orchestra, check them out sometime. And yeah, well, I hope you enjoy, and we'll get into more of the fun stuff after that. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So when it comes to like musical potential with Western like polyphonic overtone singing, as mentioned before, this fellow named David Hikes came up with a system of 5 levels, and thankfully they're not from easiest to hardest, so it makes it really fun. The first level is drone, so just a single fundamental. I've never done this with a mic before. A single fundamental and a single harmonic. There we go. Ooh. So you'd have like something like. Next one would be level 2, parallel. So. So you can sing in major thirds with yourselves, fifths, sevenths. If you get really, really endeavorous, even stranger things. And then 3 is kind of where 3 is where everyone kind of starts out. Just making funny faces and playing with vowel sounds and things. Just a single fundamental pitch, but a harmonic melody. So let's see if we can do it. Yeah. For example. And you can sing all kinds of fun songs like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Yeah. And so much more. Level 4 is where it gets really tricky. We kind of really leap because you have to start having a good understanding of the actual relationships of the harmonics to fundamental and things, and that's where you're getting a single harmonic but moving the fundamental. So, that F bowl right quick. Let me see where she is. Thank you, yes. Yeah, and there's like a little scale that, you can learn and do it. The intonation thing is kind of tricky, but that's level 4, and then level 5 is just full-out polyphony, which you can use to create 2 melodies at once or have a bass line supporting a melody above it. Yeah, good, okay. Making sure I'm not losing track of things. You can do things like Amazing Grace. Yeah, pretty much you have a lot more at your disposal when you can change the harmonic because you're less limited with the notes and above. So. Except with a little more grace, but yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so that pretty much covers like a lot of that's a nice summary of all the possibilities with overtone singing as a solo artist. Yeah. Now, in the last piece, live stream, you heard our beloved soloist Albert do something called Kargira, which is one of the many styles of the Tuvan and Mongolian throat singing. There's about 22 different styles when you combine them in different ways. You get up, I think this like 22 is the official number. And Kargira is where you are activating the, what do they call them? The vestibular folds, yeah. The sub-vocal folds, or there's a lot of different terms for it, but basically, so instead of like, you're singing the note, like, or if you want to do it, you're better at this than I am. No, like a low note, yeah. Yeah, so he's singing, but because he's like shaping, like activating the throat muscles in such a way, it's causing the sympathetic resonance of the lower guys to get that octave below, which is pretty cool.
Clearing your throat, I guess.
Yeah, it's if you're really worried about vocal health, like the learning process can be a little bit, you know, if you're not careful, damaging. But yeah.
Build up to it.
Yeah, just takes time. So that's a bit about that. The different styles of tube and throat singing were kind of brought about, it kind of evolved as part of the animistic lifestyle, interacting with nature. And so it comes from a very like meditative place in its roots. Different styles evoke different elements of nature, running water or birds or a crying llama or any number of things, yeah. Horses galloping, yeah. So it's pretty cool. Essentially, oh yeah, right, which leads me to the next piece. You remember how we were talking about those levels and stuff? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 is like, oh gosh. Well, this piece is completely based off level 4, and it's a setting of a Stephen Crane poem with a really good message. So, hope you enjoy.
has not created in me. The fact has has not created in
The fact has not created
The
in
fact
me
has not
a
created in
sense.
me. The fact has
The fact has not created in me a sense of. Has not created in me a sense of. Created in me a sense of. A sense of. A sense of. Sense of. A sense of.
Keep going. So that happened. Yeah. So, how do we make these sounds? Essentially, the harmonic series, we were talking about how, it goes into a theoretical infinity and it's whole number ratios and all of this stuff that, sounds nice, but doesn't have it's not what's relevant, to a more concrete, it's the concrete understanding, but how do we play with that is the thing. So, in our speech and language, we have all these different sounds that we make, and I can sing the same pitch but different words, and you can understand that I'm saying different things because of the resonant frequencies. The resonant frequencies of those vowels and consonants and everything is different. And so when we approach overtone singing, we look towards vowels as a bridge, and especially for those that sing in choirs already or have a bit of vocal training, we look at what the differences are between those things. With classical singing, as I was mentioning, you're getting this full big resonance. And with overtone singing, you're kind of trying to just isolate an individual element of that at an audible level. So it's yeah. And so the way you do that is, there's a couple exercises. And how are we on time? 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, all right. Well, so when you go home, I'll give you some stuff to practice, and then when you follow us on Facebook, I'll send you a message and ask how it's going. Yeah. But some things to do when you're if you want to try to start thinking of this, you can think of oohs and ohs as vowels that have warmer, rounder resonances. They will lend you towards lower overtones. So, whereas e's and a's are brighter, pingier. They resonate more in the mask, and you can think of those for higher ones. So, and one way to begin kind of exploring is just to go back and forth quickly at first, and then slowing down and seeing if you can find all those middle points. So if you start, you can tell I'm not really really trying to isolate them or anything. It's just you can hear the resonance shifting and that higher harmonic pitch shift. So the tongue acts kind of like a trombone slide in a way. It goes back and forth, and then that changes the harmonic. So things to do, and you can make weird faces. I know when we first started out, like when I first, so a little bit about, so just really quick. We started in 2012, and before then we were just hanging out and like trying to figure out how it works, me and a couple of friends. And there was a lot of weird face making and awkward analogies, and the one that really alarmingly almost always works is like that of like a kind of aggravated cat. Finding that nasal kind of. So it's amazing what works. One person didn't quite get it until somebody mentioned, oh, what about Kermit the Frog? And then they immediately turned into an overtone singer. It was incredible. So yeah, that's how you do it. This last piece is something that came about. We would sit and do these long free improvs and stuff, and then we were like, let's like structure it. So this is kind of a game of follow the leader, and we hope you enjoy. I forgot one more little thing. Other traditions of throat singing and overtone singing include Sardinian tenores. That's a very lovely thing. Inuit throat singing, which is an Alaskan, like very north, like Canada, kind of women tradition. That's more of like a breathing game with a lot of very like throaty sounds and stuff. There's also a South African women tradition of the Xhosa people that it's really incredible, the amount of just bass and resonance sounds that these gals are getting. And there's one more. There used to be one, an Ainu tradition in Japan, but that's more or less non-existent now, unfortunately. But more things to think about and check out and Google. And if you shoot us an email, I have a list. It's like 2 pages long of different videos to check out on YouTube and artists to look into. So please feel free to contact us after this. And now we hope you enjoy.
I hope you enjoyed this unusual performance by Harmonic Introductions. If you would like to attend a Music Forum concert, please note that each Friday during the fall and spring semesters, the Music Department of CCBC presents Music Forum concerts at 12:20 in the Recital Hall of the Arts and Humanities Hall on the Essex campus. These concerts are an integral part of our students' education, and all of the concerts are free and open to the public. For more information on Music Forum, please call 443-840-1521 or visit our website at ccbcmd.edu/performingarts. I'm Monica Otal. Thank you for watching CCBC TV's Arts Showcase.